Hi, I'm Rob Mitchell, Chair of the Gilsum's Broadband Advisory Committee. We were appointed back in August by the Select Board to research options for providing broadband that's reliable and high speed to every residence and every business in town. We were motivated by a need for high-speed internet everywhere. Everyone has dial tone. Not everybody has reliable internet service or internet services especially fast. And this is a problem, especially during the pandemic. People are relying on the internet for work, for healthcare services, for schooling, recreation, and other purposes. And people are connecting more devices than ever to the internet, which means they need reliable, fast service. So what is high-speed internet? The FCC defines it as 25 megabits per second download speed and 3 megabits per second upload or greater. And everybody knows that streaming in Netflix, one high-resolution movie, pulls about 25 megabits per second if you want good quality. So these are really obsolete standards. The proposed new minimum standard in the US from the FCC commissioner is to go to at least 100 megabits per second up and down. But a lot of organizations are already moving towards gigabit speeds, which is gigabit is 1,000 megabits per second. We reached out to the ISPs in town and asked them for a list of all of the residences that were served or underserved or unserved, and 81% don't meet this 25/3 designation. Here's a map that shows the town. As you can see, the business models of these companies really don't allow them to hit the rural areas. They just want to pick up the customers that are tightly clustered, mainly around the village. DSL service has the biggest footprint, but it degrades quickly as you get further and further away from their switching station on Lower Main Street. At 18,000 feet, there's no service at all. And depending on your distance, you may or may not be able to meet the minimum standard as determined by the FCC. So we did a survey. We wanted to know what people's thoughts were on their internet service providers, if they could get service at all, and how they felt about the state of broadband. We mailed it. We got 125 responses, about a little over a third of town addresses. We have about 356 properties in town total. So we asked, what type of internet service do you use? And 86% are using consolidated communications DSL service, which is essentially running internet over the same twisted pair wires that service your phone in your house. We asked how people either use or would like to use the internet, and not surprisingly, email, social networking, and streaming videos were pretty high on the list. But 62% of people said that they really wanted to use it to access healthcare services, services such as being able to have a remote video chat with a doctor. And 57% use it to work from home. More than half use it to access education or training programs. And for 19% of respondents, the internet provides access to their primary source of income or a secondary source of income. In other words, they're working from home. So we asked about satisfaction. Are you satisfied or not satisfied with the service that you have? And so, not surprisingly, about 60%, almost 2/3 of people said they're either unsatisfied or not satisfied at all with their current internet service, if they have a service. And only 3% say they're very satisfied. So why is that? It turns out that the most common complaint is people have trouble loading pages from the internet promptly. Also video streaming issues, video call issues like Zoom, and uploading files. In most cases, if people have internet, it's probably an upload speed of 2 megabits per second in town. So you can see high bandwidth services just aren't working as well as they should be for most residents, if they have them. We then asked what they'd like to see improved, and not surprisingly, high speed and reliability were the top responses. We asked if you were offered high-speed internet that was competitively priced to your current service, would you be likely to subscribe? 81% said definitely would or probably would subscribe to fiber internet if it was competitively priced and available. So the public benefits to having high-speed internet, well, you get your voice, video, and data services with increased capacity and reliability. The proposal that we've received does not increase taxes, but does increase your real estate property value. It's an important feature if you're trying to sell your home. Having the high-speed internet sets the table for more economic development in town, more businesses that need broadband, including small businesses where people work out of their homes, and it helps you sell a home faster. It also permits people to telecommute to their jobs. It improves access to online learning. You have access to healthcare delivery. And if we provide it to every home, it'll put us on par with surrounding towns, which have all implemented or are implementing similar plans to bring broadband to every home. And we'll get to that in a minute. Having broadband to every home, high-speed broadband, with the proposal that we have, you can have this without any additional town taxes. There's no property taxes that will be needed under the plan we're about to show you. It helps a rural community through this program, and town residents who don't want to have the service don't have to use it. You can also use it at the library, and the service will be free to the town to use at all municipal locations. So here's a list of towns that are already pursuing broadband to every home, 1 gigabit. As you can see, most of the towns surrounding us have in process plans to bring this forward for a vote. The ones on the right here have already completed it. The committee has talked to many people in these towns, and they're so far very pleased with the results. The first town was Chesterfield that came online. They started their process in 2018. The town of Alstead was pursuing it, but because only 37% of households didn't already have service, they didn't receive any proposals back to help them. Speaking of helping them, what started this was New Hampshire Senate Bill 170, which allows towns to pay in a public-private partnership to finance improvements to the infrastructure to bring internet dial tone to every home and residence and business in a town. The bonds must pass at an annual or special town meeting with a 3/5 vote. And there's a process you follow. You do an RFI to determine what percentage of the town is unserved. You issue a request for proposal, and then you evaluate the responses, and the selectmen vote on whether to proceed. So the important thing to note here is while you can have the bonding, the sticking point for towns has been that you still have to pay the bond. It's a 20-year note. What's happened is with Chesterfield, they pioneered a deal, in their case with CCI, Consolidated Communications, that allows the towns to not have to pay the bond. They assume the responsibility for paying the bond in return for having exclusive access to the fiber infrastructure that's provided. And they build it out to everyone in town, not just the unserved locations. But more on that in a minute. So Consolidated Communications sent us a proposal, which the selectmen voted to move forward for consideration. The bond would be $567,125. CCI would invest an additional $300,000 to connect every home and business in town. So it would go down every street. The total project cost would be $867,125. The critical thing here is that CCI agrees to contractually pay the cost of the bond service over the 20 years, including principal and interest, regardless of how many customers sign up for the service. And that's what the Chesterfield deal is about. There's no cost to the town because it doesn't affect property taxes. It also doesn't have an effect on property values because the assessment firm, according to our assessment firm, they don't calculate access to internet when figuring out the value of houses, but it does actually affect the saleability of houses and can actually increase the value. So Gilsum residents who do sign up for service pay an additional $11 monthly fee, which is included in the price that they're quoted, and that's the extent of the obligation from the town. Residents aren't obligated to sign up again, but you can subscribe at any time. And Gilsum's municipal buildings, a library, will be connected at no charge. So currently, CCI offers 3 service tiers for their fiber infrastructure, starting at $75.85 a month for a 50 megabits per second up and down link speed, all the way up to about $100 a month for gigabit second Ethernet. But they are rolling out a lower cost plan by December of this year, which is probably about the time that if we approve this, our service would be coming online. So the new plan starts at $46 a month and goes to $81 a month with a 2 to 5 gigabits per second services also planned. Those prices haven't been published yet. 5 gigabits is more down the road. You may have heard that Comcast is now implementing a data cap, just like on your phone, and it can be very expensive. CCI says that they don't have any plan to do so, and they don't have them now with their fiber. Also of note, the upload speeds and download speeds are the same with the current Comcast offerings. Your upload speeds are anywhere from 3 to 35 megabits per second. So if you do a lot of uploading of, let's say, backing up computers, uploading images, you'll find that the service will be much, much faster. This is just a look at the pricing that's coming in December. Again, it's the same information, slightly different rate. The $71 is now 250 megabits per second for the mid-tier, as opposed to the 100 in the current plan that they're offering. So what are the pros? CCI is a large company with a stable business presence. It owns the telephone monopoly. It's regulated. They are proposing fiber optic technology as a way to replace eventually the aging DSL network that they have, because they need to. It's an old technology. The FCC has regulated the telephony business for 125 years. The one con with Consolidated is they have a poor reputation for customer service. They inherited the business or purchased it from Fairpoint Communication. So the question is, will the new technology fix this? Most of the problems with them have been around, an unreliable infrastructure. And they tell us, working actively to improve customer service, and have been making investments to do so. So next steps. The selectmen have voted to move this forward for consideration, which means we go to a public benefit hearing. The next one is the 15th of January at 7 p.m. It's being held at the school, but we do encourage you to connect remotely if you can using Zoom. There'll be a second public benefit hearing at 6:30 p.m. on January 25th. And the selectmen will vote at the end of that hearing to determine if a public benefit exists. Then at 7:30 the same evening, they'll vote on whether to approve, they'll have a bond hearing and vote on whether to approve the bond proposal. If they do, and it's approved, then it goes on to the warrant article at town meeting on March 10th, where people will vote on it, and it will require a 3/5 majority to pass. Here's how you attend. You can go to Zoom, follow this link. You'll also find it on Facebook. You'll find it on gilsum.org, and you'll find it on gilsum-nh.gov, which is the town website, the Facebook community page. The meeting ID is here. You can also dial in and use a meeting ID if you want to just call, or you can attend in person at the Gilsum STEAM Academy and Community Center on Route 10. So 81% of Gilsum is underserved. There's not a great level of satisfaction with the services people have. One of the reasons is the aging DSL infrastructure that serves the vast majority of people in town. This problem exists in all the surrounding communities, but all of them are moving forward at this point pursuing options to provide fiber at up to a gigabit or more using the Hampshire SB 170 program, or the CARES Act, which is we're no longer eligible for because that program has ended. So if you have questions or comments, send them to gilsumrocks@gmail.com or post your comments in the Gilsum Community Facebook page. I want to thank you for your time. We'll also post a version of this presentation online so that if you want to go through it at your leisure, you can.